pattern language project, there are these things called plugins in Godot, right? And plugins really kind of enhance the whole deal. They let you do a lot more stuff. So I wanted to show you a couple plugins, notably a terrain manipulator and a sort of foliage scatterer. So for instance, if you go to the, we'll just do this in our web project. Why not? I'll go to the, you can find templates of this here in the terrain demo. Okay, I'll just show it to you here, yeah. So there's this project terrain demo inside the resources. And if you open it up, you'll see it's fairly easy to have terrain. Ah, there it is. Terrain. Whee! Look at that, cute. It looks a little hokey, but that's because I spent 10 minutes doing it. And if you spend more time doing it, you can make some really nice looking stuff. This isn't hard. The steps that you want to take are as follows, right? You want to make a project. This is a fun one to fiddle around. Like I know I keep saying follow along because I'm going to show you how to use this, and then I'm going to let you just play around with it for the rest of class. And you can make terrains or landscapes or whatever. So what you want to do is make a new project. I'll call it terrain in class. Save it to the repository. Create the folder. I'll do forward plus for this one for the lulz. Then you're gonna go and open up the asset store and grab some plugins. So the asset library is up here at the top, asset library. And again, this is just a constantly evolving list of like a bunch of different utilities that people use. Ooh, did they just release this one? No, okay, so this one is not ported for the regular version of Godot yet, don't worry about it. Just type in the words terrain, and you'll see a bunch of different terrain tools come up. I'm using this height map terrain plugin, which is pretty good. So plugins are sort of like scripts and scenes and tools that people have made and that actually edit the way the editor itself runs. And it's actually very easy to make your own plugins. If you don't like the way parts of Godot work, you can create plugins to do custom functionality, to do whatever you want. But people can make their own plugins, and then they share them in this repository, and it allows you to download and use their code. So I'm going to use this height map terrain. I'm going to hit download. It's going to prompt me to install it in this directory. Plugins always need to be inside this add-ons directory inside your root folder. So that's good. I'm going to hit OK and hit install. And if you want to learn how to use plugins or sort of understand their deal, the best way to do that is to click on their page in the little in the asset library, and then go and click View Files. And this is going to take you to the page itself, the GitHub repository for the plugin itself. And each plugin, you know, it's up to the people who make it to sort of write whatever they want, but they sort of have instructions on how to use it, on why it exists. And then this one in particular has this whole documentation site that you can go to, and you can read all about how to like do fancy little tricks with this terrain plugin. Okay, so if you want to learn how to use the terrain plugin itself, just get to it through the View Files link in its asset library. But basically what you need is we need a 3D scene. Then you're going to want to add a new node called hterrain. Oh no, sorry, before you do that, if you've just downloaded it, what you always need to do with plugins is you need to enable them. So you go to Project Settings, Plugins, and then you should see this plugin. Just click Enable, and you should be good. And you can hit Close. And now you can add this new custom node, hterrain. Woohoo! hterrain is going to give you a warning. the data directory is missing. So this particular node wants you to have a directory where it saves information to. So you just click this little folder and make a folder. So I'm going to create a terrain data folder and hit select. And now you see we have this big terrain. And then this is the fun part. You can kind of just start going silly. You can just click and drag.
Oh, that's so cool.
And you can make like mountains. There's all sorts of different brushes and stuff you can use. So for instance, you have depression brushes. It's a little, right out of the gate, it's a little insensitive, but you can configure that by changing the brush size and the brush opacity. So I'll make it smaller. So you can start making like mountains and stuff. You can use smoothing to kind of smooth it out a little bit. You can use erosion. Okay, so this is sort of like a fun way to start messing around. You can flatten things to specific heights. There's all these different brushes you can use. And you can also create all these different textures, right? So let's say you want like a sort of more nuanced, you know, like brush texture for actually drawing onto the terrain. You can go and grab some textures. I thought I saw some fun ones on Itch, actually. Let's see. Assets. I'll say like terrain texture. Or like terrain brush. Yeah, these are good. Oh, $5. Come on. I'm broke. Well, you can sort of see, right, even just by looking at this, right? If you take different brushes and use them as your brush, you can then create different sort of types of things. Let's see if we can find a free terrain brush. Bro, come on. Game assets free. You know what? I'll just Google it. Free terrain brush. Brushk. Yeah, let's try ZBrush Central. Why not? Let's go back.
For some reason, every time I try to load the plugin, it quits.
It quits?
Yeah, like it'll just quit. I have it loaded on this one now, and when I open it. Well,
Is anybody else having that issue?
It seems like an error.
Does seem like an error. I would try.
It did that to me as well, but then I force quit it and then did it again and it worked.
Oh.
Okay, yeah, try force quitting all of Godot.
I'm having like a problem.
What's your problem?
Like it's not like I thought I did the data directory thing, but I don't think I did it.
Oh, okay. So yeah, so in order to do the data directory, you just need to. I'll clear it out. Because does it have this sort of?
Yeah.
Does it? Is this blank over here?
No, I created a folder.
And it says it's listed here.
Yes.
And is the
No, it's still there.
warning sign interesting? Oh no, that looks good. What's the warning sign? Because you have the terrain. Can you actually create terrain, or is it annoyed? Oh, you have two of them.
Oh.
That's the problem. So just delete that one.
Does it matter what render option we choose, maybe?
You could try doing
So I don't.
try doing forward plus, I suppose, but I don't think it should matter.
Okay.
Let me just grab an image really quick. Sure.
Wait, it's this one, right?
No. Sorry, it's the
No?
one that says height map. It's
Oh my
this
god,
one.
this whole
That's
time
okay.
I've been grabbing the wrong
Height map
one.
terrain. Yeah. This is kind of fun. Okay, I'll grab this image. Right, you can make these in Photoshop too. Any regular image editing program, as long as you have a black and white image, that's kind of like speckly, that sort of does the job. So I'm going to paste this into here. Come on. I'm going to paste it into there. That's good. Dirty terrain, cool. Sounds kind of vaguely inappropriate. Then you just click on the brushes and then you hit add, and it had some built in the whole time. Who knew? Well, that's great. Well, I'll just use the built-in one then, because it also looks like it kind of wants this EXR shape. Let's see if it's, yeah, okay. So I'm just gonna click add, resources. Oh my God, we got so lost. What happened? Let's try it again. Brush, add. Oy, oy, oy. I don't know what I did. Anyway, you can add a brush and you can change the brush. Cool. So this is decent, right? This is sort of a decent start at making terrain. But it'd be really nice if we could actually make it like look, you know, like look like something. It'd be nice if we could actually make it look like a landscape, for instance. So one of the first things we want to do in order to do landscape, firstly, you can do color painting. So you can just kind of paint on colors if you want to make like a sort of surreal landscape, right? That's kind of a weird choice. You can also go ahead and add textures pretty easily. The way you add textures is by clicking on the, I think you click on textures or terrain and then do import. Nope. Well, I'll show you this part first. We can also generate our own sort of, with mathematical noise, we can generate our own landscapes. So you can go to terrain generate. And then by playing with all these different sliders, you can kind of create a generated terrain, which is kind of a, you know, sometimes it's nice to have like a starting point for your terrain. You can change the roughness. You can change the octaves of noise, the emission weight. You can change all these different sort of parameters, and then hit apply, and it will go ahead and just apply the noise to the whole terrain, okay? Now, in order to actually add a texture to it, I'm just gonna go and look at the documentation and refresh myself. So I'm gonna go to the web page, and you can go down to this texturing tab, and it'll show you sort of all these different ways of doing it. The easiest method is to, oh, come on. Yeah, import is to use the import tool. So click import, okay. So click on the node and then go click on import. And then this is gonna allow you to import specific textures, right? And these textures are the same types of image maps that we have for our basic regular old like material textures. So for instance, actually on the web page itself, on the documentation, they have a nice little where do they have that nice suggestion? Let's see. Here it is, cc0textures.com. That's a nice little free texture website. So you can go to cc0textures.com or ambient TCG to get a bunch of free textures. I'm gonna go and grab I'll grab this one. I'm gonna download the 2K PNG. You can get bigger ones if you want, but I'm just gonna grab 2K. And I'm gonna open it up and just drag this folder into Godot. And you'll see in Godot, now we have this folder of textures, and now I can go ahead and first you have to create a texture set, so just click this plus button. Then you have to load a texture to it, so you click load. And I'm gonna go and grab the albedo texture. So I'm gonna go inside the folder and grab this base color. And then it should be smart enough to automatically load in some of the other ones. You might get a little confused with some of them. So then you go and grab the normal map. I'll grab the normal map GL and hit open. And then I will say import to texture set. And then it is smart enough to automatically apply it to the terrain. And then you can start fiddling with some of these properties. And there's also ways to have several different textures that you have as different brushes, right? So like, for instance, I'll actually grab another texture too. I'm gonna import, I'll make another one. I'm gonna go grab a rock, because maybe I wanna have like grass on the grassland and then rocks on the mountaintops, right? So I'll go back to this website, ambient TCG, and I'll get like a rocky rock, you know, like a rocky rock. This looks like a rocky rock. I'll download this rocky rock. I'll drag this rock to Godot. And in my, so we have our 0 texture, we also have our 1 texture. I'll load in now the rock. Also, I'm gonna load in the GL normal map and hit import to texture set. And so now, I think the way this works is you can just click on the texture you want to paint with, yeah, and then you can kind of paint it onto the scene. And you'll see that now you can kind of do things like paint in rocks onto your rock terrain, right? Any questions about this workflow? Anybody having issues like playing around with this?
I'm so behind, but like
That's okay.
I don't want to interrupt you, but I
No, totally. No,
Yeah.
it's very okay to interrupt. I'm gonna float around now and help you all
I
get
don't know
situated.
why I can't add the.
Oh, so try H terrain.
I saw it.
Oh, so did you enable the plugin?
I don't know.
So go to project settings
Oh, okay.
and then go to plugins and then enable it.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
and then
Okay.
now you should be able to
Maybe it was something.
add H terrain. Yeah, it's okay.
Just close it.
Mm-hmm. And now you can add the node called H terrain. Yeah, there it is. Right
Oh,
there.
okay.
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Anybody else having trouble sort of making terrains? Yeah.
Did you do the initial like
Generation? Yeah. So this terrain has this generate button. So you just click on terrain and then go to generate. And then you can sort of do whatever you want. You can go nuts. Mm-hmm. So this is well and good, but it would also be nice if we could have some like foliage, right? Or add some stuff to it. You can add foliage and stuff through this plugin. But there's another plugin I want to show you that's also kind of fun called proton scatter. So I'm going to go to the asset library and go get it. So proton. It's this one here. These like circles. Looks like a weird little computer. I'm going to hit download and install. And hit OK. Then in order to turn it on, I just go to project settings and turn it on and hit close. And Proton Scatter is pretty cute. If you want to check it out, you can open up the add-ons folder, and it's got a cute little demo scene, this showcase. So you can go inside demos and open up the showcase scene, and you'll see it does this thing. It does this thing. It sort of adds stuff. What Proton Scatter does is it nicely adds random objects and scenes to other scenes. And you can do a lot with it. You can really kind of go nuts with it. But the simplest way to do it is the following. So in order to use it, we can go back to our terrain, and we're going to create a new node called Proton Scatter. And Proton Scatter comes with two children nodes. It comes with a scatter shape and a scatter item. The scatter item can be any scene, can be any sort of scene that you already have. So for instance, maybe I want to scatter this scene with buttons, right? Well, we don't have the button scene in this scene. I'll make a new test scene real quick. New scene, CSG. Let's like scatter this landscape with cones, I guess. Cone. I'll call it cone. It's a cone. Yeah. Oh, please.
It says I can't unable to load add-ons from path.
Did you try enabling the plugin?
That's one.
Go ahead and hit OK. And just try it one more time. Okay, then try just quitting Godot and opening it again. Anybody else having trouble enabling Proton? Or finding it? So I have this cone scene, and what I can do with this scatter item is you just pick the path to the scene that you want to be the scatter item. So they have a nice bunch of scenes already built in, but I'm just going to go back to the cone. There it is, cone, and hit cone. And then you'll also see Proton Scatter has this scatter shape. This is the area in which it's going to scatter all the things. And then I believe it should start scattering them. Let's see. Let's see. Let me try using one of their shapes. It'd be because it was a CSG shape. So what's fun about Proton Scatter is you can really kind of You can really have a lot of things. You can make a lot of them over a very large area. You can be like, woohoo! And then now you'll see we have all these bushes sort of like randomly floating around. If you want them to actually land onto the surface of an object, you just need to go to the scatter object itself, and then go to project on colliders, and you can click remove points on miss. And then you also want to change the ray length to be really big, because it basically shoots a little line from the top of the ray down to the bottom. So I think you want to make like a line of like 500 maybe, and 500. And maybe that was too big. It looks like it missed entirely. 0, 100. I could fiddle with this forever. But how are you guys doing? Has anybody gotten this to successfully work? No? Let me check the settings that I had in the other version. Have you gotten proton scatter to successfully like enable?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Have you been able to create a node for it?
No, I think I missed that step.
Yeah. So in order to create a node, you just have to add the proton scatter node. So you can do proton
Yeah, I did that.
scatter.
But
Okay.
after-
Yeah, and then in order to get an item itself, you just want to you can click scatter item and then go to the path to the scatter item, and then you can pick. They have some built-in ones, but also if you have your own models and stuff, you can add your own models in here. Does that make sense? Cool. And what did I do that made it work? Let's see. Godot. Oh boy. Oh, come on, come back. Is anybody at least able to make terrain? Okay, cool. Because I would encourage you to try making, particularly if you're thinking about making a speculative world, maybe try like making some terrain right now. Wow, this is not working. Yeah.
I some trouble with like the terrain.
Yeah. Let me try and get it set up. So the terrain, so you're missing the terrain directory. So all you have to do is click on this directory folder, and then just create a new folder. So create a folder, give it a name like terrain data or something, and then you should be good. Cool. Sweet. going to give you now some time to just kind of continue to play around with this stuff. Looks like I've had some sort of error. Terrain directory. Terrain data. There we go. So I think I was just having some dumb errors. But you should just be able to hit project onto surface, and then it'll project the images. It'll project the actual scenes onto the area. Has anybody gotten this to work? Proton scatter? No, maybe so. Do we all remember how to like import models and stuff into the environment? Yeah, cool. Great. Well, yeah, why don't we just take the rest of the time to kind of fiddle around with trying to make some terrain? Or make like a landscape of some kind. If you're using the Forward Plus renderer, one of the nicest things you can do is to just add some volumetric fog. That makes things look really good. So for instance, if I just add an environment node, go to the environment, and go to fog, volumetric fog, and enable it. Now it's like very spooky. It's not too bad. The texture itself looks a little like stretched out and stuff. So if you want to fiddle with that, I believe that's just inside of the shader params. You can change the UV scale to a smaller number. Trick is when you make the numbers smaller, then it looks worse from farther away because you're repeating the texture a bunch. But the smaller you make the number, the smaller it'll actually be loaded. That's where something like a really high resolution texture can be very helpful. So you just kind of want to play with this number in particular until it looks kind of nice. That looks all right. But also you'll notice that it doesn't look great when you're far away. So there's a couple things you can do. You can use this U-tile reduction by changing this number to 1. That kind of makes it a little bit more randomized. And then it's really about just kind of getting the scale just right until it's like a nice number that looks good, but not too repetitive. I think that's fine. I'm gonna fiddle with this. Any questions? Anything not working? Anything I can help out with?
I just quit on you.
No! Are you serious? Which one?
I'm just starting over.
Oh, okay.
I didn't really get that far.
Okay.
But
Right.
I'll
Yeah, you go. Great. Yeah, you should have brushes built in that you can use. If you go to this little circle and hit add, it has a couple of different brushes. And you can change the size of it, the pressure, and it has this nice little like messing around area. So when you use a different brush, that really changes the way the landscape looks. So for instance, I'm going to use this brush to change the brush size to a lot smaller. And then you can really draw on in different patterns and stuff. Hey, what's up? What's the end? So, try clicking on Node 3D, and then click on H-Train again. Looks like that's a scene somehow. I would try. Did you have anything that you've been creating so far? Okay. Yeah. So what I would do is delete the scene. I think.
This one?
Yeah. I think that's maybe part of the problem. Yeah. You can hit remove and then delete this node as well. And then let's just create again. So just add a new node to the scene. And then do H-string. That's good. And then go ahead and click data directory. And click terrain UV. Select remove stuff. Maybe try switching to forward plus, the renderer. Yeah. And hit save and restart. Okay, there it is. Interesting. Okay, is that good? Okay. Is anyone using the terrain plugin and the compatibility renderer? You are? So you might have just needed to restart Godot. Like, I think you should be able to use compatibility, but yeah. Any other questions or concerns about terrain or anything else you're working on? Yeah.
How do you do the thing where you click like view and then collision?
Oh yeah, that's in debug. I'm also just gonna